guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. The sun is shining. I really don't want to be in here right now. I want to be outside working in the garden. It's been so nice. Like, it's been such a nice
it really has.
end of January / beginning of February.
You've been out playing basketball.
Yeah, we went roller skating last night, which I remember roller skating being real easy. Last night I put on a pair of roller skates for the first time in
A long time.
like 12 years.
Yeah.
It was a little harder than I remember it being. Benjamin took to it. Like, he was determined.
Yeah.
It was the very first time he put on a pair of roller skates, and he was real uneasy and just hanging off of me from like the beginning part. And by the end, he wanted to stay out there. He's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm good. You can go in, you know?
Right.
And Samantha was kind of like,
She was done less than halfway.
yeah.
Through.
She'll get there. And it may not be her thing. I don't know. But it was so fun. It's been so fun having that space. Ugh. Okay, before we get into the videos from this past week, I did want to mention a few store-related things. We have both an email list and a text list. You can sign up for either, both, or none, depending on your interest level. But that's where you'll find any information, like new stuff that we add to the store, which we have some new stuff coming, which we're really excited for. Also, we're going to be doing some like list-specific giveaways, so only to the people on our email list or text list.
We've got one coming up for Valentine's.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, just wanted to let you know about that. Also, our website has had a complete redesign, and it looks way better.
yeah.
So anyway, you should check that out, whether or not you're going to sign up for a list or not. Also, Nature's Willow, is there a discount on that?
Yeah, 10% off.
10% off. We've got their Itch Relief cream, Pain Relief Cream, Bug Bite Balm, Soothing Bath Soak, and Pain Relief Patches. For me, the one that I use the most often is the Pain Relief Cream. And I think I use this 2 to 3 times a day.
Really?
I do, yeah. I use it before I go to bed. I
didn't realize you used it so much.
I do. And I just take it and I just like big squirt. I just find that like over just even like the past little bit, I've been using it a little bit more consistently.
Is it helping you more?
Yes, because it makes me to where, I mean, it's kind of like that cooling, warm sort of sensation. And it, I don't know if it's like an actual pain reliever, but I think maybe that
it distracts you.
Sensation distracts me
It's the
from
art of distraction.
any kind of pain. And so I find myself taking far less ibuprofen, which I think is beneficial. So, and it's all plant-based stuff. So anyway, we will link to all of this stuff.
Subscriptions.
What?
We're doing subscriptions now for the Nature's Willow stuff. So like if you want it on a monthly basis, like if you're going through it at a certain rate.
Yeah. Every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Then you can set it up on subscription on our website, gardenanswer.com.
Gotcha. All right. Well, there you go. That's our information for today. So let's jump into this first video, which was installing a pond thermometer, cleaning loppers. I need to check that thermometer.
Yeah.
Because it's been warmer. Okay, so cleaning loppers. I cleaned those. What number is it? The Felco.
22.
They're like the professional, commercial, all steel handle loppers, and they look so much better. And then I did a rejuvenation prune on an overgrown honeysuckle, which it needed it. It felt so good to do that, and it looked so much better. And I learned a lot about that vine just by getting in there, because I didn't plant it. It was there when we moved in, and it's been like, it was beautiful. Well, I don't know. It was starting to look a little scraggly that first year on the bottom, but just on the very bottom. So I just didn't really mess with it. And then progressively through the years that we've been here, it's kind of getting like the scraggly has been going up the plant a little bit to where it needed.
I seem to remember maybe taking a picture of that. Okay, so when we first moved in, the Shippies were helping us because remember, we didn't have a truck when we moved here.
We had 2 little
we didn't
cars.
even have a pickup. We had 2 little cars. And so for us, any project was daunting because we didn't have any. We came from a little townhouse, and we just didn't have anything. We didn't have any tools, and we were just like, this will be fun.
We got this.
But we did know the Shippies.
Yeah.
And
which they help us with grass edging even to this day.
Yeah. So I remember going around the property, and there were a lot of dead things that we needed their help with ripping out and hauling off, because we didn't even have a spot for like a burn pile or a compost pile or anything. And I seem to remember taking a picture of that area and asking them to like wipe it clean, but they didn't. So I must not have. I'll see if I can find it.
Isn't it funny? Our memories, they play tricks on us sometimes.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
Okay, while you're looking for that, I'm going to answer the first question, which is from user DQ5 blah 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 blah. Would not have thought the water temp would be that high. I know, me too. And now I'm thinking.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah.
It seemed warm.
Well, you know what? Paul did top up the pond with water yesterday, so it probably cooled it down, maybe just a little bit. Adding the cooler water in.
I mean the water that's coming out of the ground is constant.
I suppose.
Do you know what I mean? It's cold.
I know, but based on whatever the pond was sitting at before the extra cooler
that's
water
true.
was
It
added,
would've
I don't know.
changed it a
I'll
little
have to go
bit.
check it. How are the seeds in the water jugs doing? They're not doing anything right now. I did look at them the other day, just to like day before yesterday, to make sure that the moisture level was good. But you know, it doesn't feel like we've had the snowbank hasn't been gone for very long, and they were like banked up with snow. You couldn't even see them. So they got kind of that slow melt of snow. So moisture level in them is great, and hopefully they'll start waking up. Like, well, I'm guessing probably sometime toward the end of this month, beginning of March. Next question from user KR1 says, can the same pruning technique be applied to an overgrown clematis? You know, it kind of depends on what kind of clematis you have. There are 3 different pruning classifications for clematis. There's like group A, group B, and group C. And so depending on what variety you have to figure out which pruning classification yours is in, because some of them want a hard cut back, like our pink meat clematis. We just took care of those this week, cut them back to the first node, about 18 inches up the plant. And I love that kind of clematis because it just takes the guesswork out. They grow fresh every year. They bloom on fresh new wood every year. So I never get that overgrown, like woody mess of vines. But there are some that do not want to be pruned. They bloom on old wood. So you just want to figure out what variety you have. If you have something though, no matter when it blooms, or if you have something that looks bad and you're not loving to look at it anymore, I say you're not out anything, just to trim it back and see what happens. It's a risk. So there's a risk always when you do a rejuvenation prune that you could lose a plant. But if you don't like looking at it anyway, I mean, you know, if you lose it, you could replace it with something that you do love. Yeah.
I found it.
You did?
I did.
Are you serious?
It was in May, and it just looked completely dead. I'll put it on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
But
you should favorite that right now. So
yeah, okay, I will.
You can find that easy later.
Yeah, so I took a picture of it because it looked completely dead. And for maybe whatever reason, maybe you went and looked at it and there was still life in the bottom of it. And you were like, well, maybe let's not have them rip it out or something. But right around that time, I have several other photos of other things we asked them to remove.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah.
Paula said, would the sprays, etc., work on a shovel? I watched with interest and a little pain your trimming of the honeysuckle. I have one by my door that probably needs this. Please show us how it does this summer. I will. And it's likely, like I said in the video, that I might have to go in and trim out even more of it, depending on what flushes out and what doesn't. And it might be that I take all of those branches down to the nub. You know, it just kind of depends on how it comes back. The sprays on a shovel. I mean, you could... I suppose. I mean, they're cleaners, so you could use them on a shovel. We did have a video of me cleaning and sharpening tools.
Yeah. Like
bigger tools, like shovels and things. Maybe we can find that and link it down below. I think I used some scrubbing bubbles and things.
I think you just used water and soap for the most part when we did that video. Mm-hmm. Which, like
that
you
one
said...
didn't include pruners. That was more, I think.
I don't remember if it did or not.
I can't remember. Anyway. C. Stillwagon said, have you used an underwater camera to see in the pond? We have not yet.
No, I totally need to do that. Like all of our GoPros are waterproof.
That would be really fun.
I just need to stick them in there at some point and do that.
Jan said, the honeysuckle looks great. Question, I live in a warmer climate, zone 9B, and my honeysuckle is green on top, but brown and leafless underneath. That's how mine was. Can I do this? Where will the new growth emerge if you cut off the smaller branches? Thank you for all the inspiration in the dead of winter. So that's exactly how mine looked. There were green leaves on the top. In more mild climates, the Hall's honeysuckle in particular will be evergreen. The colder it gets, it kind of loses more of its look, kind of like heucheras and hellebores. You know, the more mild end of their growing range, zone range, they look better, and that makes sense. But so new growth will emerge along the stems that still have green in them, that still have life in them, or you might find that it grows new from the base, from the bottom of the plant. So we'll have to follow the progression on how mine does. Bluebug said, what illness did Aaron have? Well, it tested positive for nothing. We both went in.
Yeah.
And I even took some at-home tests. everything was negative. And they said that there was something going around that was testing negative for everything, but it was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, not a good bug, whatever it was.
It was worse than, we had COVID in November.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was way worse than that. Ugh. Lise said, if that honeysuckle survives, it'll look pretty cool with that offset shape. May I ask, what is that low sprawling evergreen next to the honeysuckle? It's some kind of a juniper. It's not a Dobbs frosted because it's way too tall for that. But it has that same kind of it has outer, the branches kind of sweep out.
Yeah.
It looks very architectural and pretty. That was there when we moved in, so I can't be positive.
Those seem like they were really common in the 90s to plant.
Possibly, yeah.
Right? Or 2000s even.
Yeah. People still plant them all the time.
Do they?
Because they require so little from us here.
Yeah.
Junipers are one of the only native evergreens you will see. Down here in the valley, and even up in a little bit of the hills where it's still mostly high desert looking, you might see one here or there, but they do survive here really well. Carol said, when you do a major overhaul on something, do you show Aaron your project with wild excitement? Sometimes.
Yeah.
I think
afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess not sometimes. I'm like, let's go take a walk and just look at what I did today.
Yeah, you totally do that.
Yeah.
And you have a little kid expression on your face, look what I've done.
Look, ta-da. Well, I feel so proud of myself whenever we get it done. You got to celebrate the little stuff.
Yeah.
Next video was spraying dormant fruit trees to control insects and diseases and more flower bed cleanup. So I actually hit the second spray in our spray regimen. First time. In our area, typically, there's a ton of orchards in our area. And so the growers will hit the fruit trees, dormant fruit trees, 3 times. One time, and it's with liquid copper, and then we use a horticultural oil, like a dormant oil sort of spray. They hit them right after the leaves have fallen in late fall. So November-ish, and then usually a nice day in January, and then again around Super Bowl Sunday, which is coming up here, but I think I'm going to wait maybe 1 to 2 more weeks to give mine a little bit more space between. Usually I hit the very last one and I don't get the first 2. And the growers say if you hit that last one, you'll most likely be good. But the more times you do it, the more things that you hit, because it's likely you might miss something here or there. Or, wind happens, ruffles up the leaves or whatever underneath the tree, and then you hit it again and it hits more eggs that it maybe didn't hit the first time, so on and so forth. So I did get that done, explained the sprays I was using. We sprayed the 9 fruit trees around the flower shed, the espalier behind the greenhouse, and the miniature peach trees. So we got them all done. And then I can't remember where I ended up doing flower bed cleanup that day, but I ended up cleaning up somewhere in the south garden along the grass path leading to the flower.
Do you feel like you're maxed out on fruit trees? Like you don't want any more? Or would you?
Well, at this point, unless I had some, because these trees are small and they produce so much fruit that, and I don't preserving, canning, I like to do a little bit of it, but it's not, I don't have the time. I don't have the time and set up to just
to do it all the time.
If it was a passion of mine, I'd probably make the time to do it, but we're busy with other stuff and I can't do canning videos every day of the week and I don't want to,
Our neighbors have how many apple trees?
He said that there's 150 trees. Well, not all apples. They range.
Okay.
And they bring us boxes too. I'm like, they're always perfect. They bring them in a flat low box, and there's perfect peaches lined up in those boxes. So good. Bobby said, I watched last year when you sprayed your fruit trees. I sprayed raspberries and blueberries too. This year it's so wet I haven't had a day without sprinklers or heavy mist. Should I spray anyway? I don't know that it's going to be super worth it if it's wet. I would wait for a dry window, at least a little bit. I mean, is it constant everywhere all the time? It can't be.
Maybe.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abby Hansen said, my apple trees are right next to my garden bed, so I'm nervous to spray. Could I paint the mixtures on the tree? There's only 3, and they are espaliered. I'd love to hear any other suggestions you might have. I don't think it's going to hurt anything to spray. Just try to be...
Well, they're all pretty benign things,
yeah,
aren't they?
I mean, but it's still insecticide. I mean, the dormant oil, if you have beneficial egg bug eggs, insect eggs, it'll smother those too.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think your best bet would be to like lay sheets out or a tarp out around your trees, spray them, let the overspray fall on that. But I mean, you could paint it on, I suppose. I mean, I don't think there'd be anything wrong with that, but that'd be a chore.
Yeah.
But it'd be very targeted, that's for sure. Addie said, I would like to grow some dwarf or small fruit trees in pots since I have a smaller area. Any tips or suggestions? Yeah, you know, my parents' garden center has carried more and more dwarf fruit trees through the years. And I would just look for them at your local garden center, see if they're going to be bringing some in. We have that Pixie miniature peach in a container that's been in there for a long time. We did a video when I potted it up. So you just want to select a pot that's big enough to where it has room to grow a little while. This one has been in for 4 years. Probably needs to be potted up. We'll pot it up to something bigger this next year, but it's produced peaches really well. I'd also make sure to put them in an area that has full sun, like as much sun as you can give them, and consistency in water. I had ours set up on a drip system, and I think that's super beneficial to anything potted. And then we didn't ever protect our peach tree.
No.
In any of the winters. So it just sat out there. We just moved it for the first time because we did something different in the area that it was in. So, I mean, you could like tuck it up next to your house on the south side if you want to provide it a little bit more sun, like radiant heat and protection. That wouldn't hurt. Katie said, wait, am I supposed to defoliate my roses? And I agree that the videos are not boring. They are great reminders and refreshers for what needs to be done. I'm glad to hear that. Whenever I do like a lot of one thing in a row, I'm like, ooh, it kind of seems a little like monotonous.
I think that's totally fine because that's gardening. And there's times of the year where you do like a lot of clean out all at once. Mm-hmm. There's times of the year, May and June, where you do like all planting. It's like, This is my window to plant because I can't plant in December.
Sure.
So you just do a lot of planting in May, and then you do a lot of,
We do a lot of planting from like...
not necessarily just May, but specifically May.
Yeah. Like annuals, tons of annual planting.
It's like every video is titled planting this, planting that. But it's what we do that time of year.
Yeah.
I think people are okay with it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. I agree. I feel like I don't see any negativity about redundancy and there's usually something a little different, like I'm addressing a different type of plant in a different area in and among all the other stuff I'm doing. Defoliating roses can be very important for diseases and pests. So going through, I cut them back first and get rid of a lot of the top stuff because that's where a lot of the leaves are anyway. So that really the job in the end isn't that hard. And then I just go down each branch and pull the leaves off and clear around the base. And that really helps eliminate a lot of problems. Julie said, I wonder if you're pruning your fruit trees this year. I will a little bit. I was looking at them though when I was spraying, and I did such a severe prune last year that I feel like, and not only did we do a dormant fruit tree pruning, I did pruning later on because I didn't thin them out quite enough. And like the fruit load on our peach tree and our nectarine tree, it was scary thick. I mean, awesome, but with wind and with like smaller fruit trees, they're not mature yet. So they don't have huge trunks and huge branches yet. I had to go through and cut a lot out. So they're looking pretty good this year. Pamela said, do you use this spray on your citrus trees, your avocado trees, olive trees, and fig trees too? I don't. All of those trees that we have are in our covered greenhouse that I can see out our windows here. And they don't seem to be afflicted by anything.
Lucky.
Yeah, I know. So I just don't. I just haven't sprayed them. So we'll just keep our eye out. Maybe I should be. They're all trees that aren't like native or not widely grown in our area. So my knowledge is like based on my own experience, the ones I have, which is, it's not vast.
You're gaining your knowledge.
Gaining knowledge, as we do through the years, hopefully. Janice said, I only have one fruit tree, so if I mix the 1 gallon solution to use now, can I store the leftovers? No. And use the same solution in late February application? No. You want to mix it fresh every time. That copper especially, I notice it can kind of like separate a bit and like get kind of almost chunky looking.
Huh.
Because I have accidentally left it in and not like poured out the little bit that was left at the bottom. Leslie said, how tall will you allow your fruit trees to get? Will you trim the height so it's easier to reach the fruit? I went in with the idea of keeping them at there's 3 different approaches. You can do like the vase shape, which is the easiest way to keep the height down keep the center really like a lot of airflow, a lot of light. But they look tortured to me. They just have this
they
like
don't look great.
tortured look. And then there's the central leader. So you could just let your trees do their thing. And like the apple trees, they'll get 20 feet plus tall. You know, all of the trees I have out there are semi-dwarf, which means that at maturity, they'll reach about 15 to 20 feet. So I was going to take a modified central leader approach where you let a few kind of be, so it kind of goes between a central leader look and a vase look. You keep the height down a little bit, it's a little bit more spread out. But the more I harvest on those trees, I don't want them to be that vase shape. But I don't also want them to be so tall that it's a total pain to harvest.
Yeah, you can't get to the middle.
Right.
The middle height.
So ours are gonna, I don't know, they'd be prettiest if you let them just be their natural shape, but not the most practical.
Get one of those machines that comes in and shakes the tree.
Like the oranges?
Yeah, and then it's got the thing to catch them all.
That'd be nice. All right, next video was harvesting last year's carrots and making a carrot cake. Oh my word, those carrots. I knew I need to get in there and clean that raised bed out. And so I got the kids in on a little bit of the carrot harvest. They like to pull carrots out. It's fun. And then I got them all cleaned up. Benjamin helped me shred all of them. And we ended up with so many. I've got like this massive Tupperware bowl. And it held 36 cups. Let's see. Yeah, it was 36 cups of shredded carrots.
Dang.
Plus I had another bowl that's almost as big as that one that I gave to your sister. She took them home and she froze hers. So hers was probably what, like 30 cups, I'm guessing. And then we had enough to make a carrot cake as well. So it's really fun that even when those carrots aren't peak, and these are the ones I seeded in there last spring. So of course they're not like super tender. Samantha ate 2 of them.
Really?
Yeah, she was like, these are good. And she kept coming in and wanted to steal them off the counter. But you know, they're not super tender. They're just like they're monsters, really, but they still have really good flavor, and they're good for cooking and like blending into soups, or just putting in like a vegetable soup, roasting them or shredding them. Just like fresh eating is a little bit tougher on those. Stephanie said, those are seriously big carrots. I'd love to grow carrots, but I'm afraid the woodchucks would eat them. Is there a variety you would recommend for growing the Greenstock vertical garden? I seeded, I think it was the Nantes Half Long or the Danvers. It was one of those 2 in our Greenstock last spring. And we ended up, because ours is the, it's like the deeper.
5 tier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a little bit deeper pocket. So if you want to do some smaller type root vegetables and harvest them when you should be harvesting them, it's the perfect size pockets for those. We should link that Greenstock down below because that was really awesome. I did a bunch of seeds in that, and I've got a bunch of seeds growing right now in it. But yeah, that worked out beautifully. Lucy said, do you have to buy eggs for the cake? I noticed you're using white eggs and thought Bev and the gals laid brown eggs. They do lay brown eggs. Beverly hasn't laid an egg for probably a year. She's just our sweet older gal in there who's, you know, happy but not producing. The Copper and Moran, I think is how you say that name. Those will still produce. They've produced sporadically through the winter, but not consistently. They've just started back in, but I didn't have any at the moment. So yeah, we have to buy store eggs sometimes. BSJ1965 said, is there a recipe for the Garden Answer Kiddos carrot cake? Loved watching those beautiful babies baking with their gracious mama. So sweet. They were into it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We cut out a lot of the chatter. There's a lot of chatter during that project. And there's a lot of like wanting to eat the sugar and, you know, and there was one point where Benjamin cracked his egg. And Samantha's sure of herself a little bit more without even instruction. It's amazing, like the different personality types, but she'll just like get into a project, crack her egg and be like, yeah,
done.
Of course I can do that, you know? And Benjamin's like a little more tender and he's like picking at the little crack, and then he cracked it into his hand and there was like whites stringing down from it. That's why I had him crack it into separate bowls before I put it into the cake mix, because I knew something like that was gonna go down. I was like, Benjamin, why are you cracking that right into your hand? So it's just a mess. Anyway, the inspiredtaste.net was the website I got that carrot cake from, and I just Googled carrot cake recipes. It was the first one. It had pretty good ratings, so that is the one we went with. Aubrey said that plate is gorgeous. Is that from antiquing or from a modern store? I think it's a Royal Wessex. if I am not mistaken. I got it at TJ Maxx. No, Marshall's. I think I got it at, it doesn't matter. One of the
Same
two.
thing.
Yeah, I think I got that at Marshall's a few years ago, and they are really pretty plates. Rose said that was very impressive. What kind of carrots were they and the seed company? So you can get two of the varieties from my parents' garden store, which is andrewseed.com. They're Danvers half-longs and Nantes. Half-long. Are they both half-longs? Nantes and anyway. I should know that because I grow those varieties every single year, one or both of those varieties. And then the other one was St. Valerie, which was sent to me as a free seed packet from one of the seed companies, various seed companies that I've ordered from. I kind of want to say it was from Baker Creek, but because it kind of had that larger black package. But they were really tasty too. I really liked those. Which carrot is going on your dad's desk? I didn't even think about it. And that would have missed my opportunity. Next video is pruning panicle and smooth hydrangeas and pink mink clematis. So I just went through this step by step on arborescens and paniculated type hydrangeas, how I prune those. There were actually a couple of macrophyllus that I did prune, and we did not put that in the title because it's not the time to prune them. But I showed you how these two were the two in pots by our back kitchen door that were just, were they Blue Enchantress or something like that? Empress?
Did you just get those like just on a whim? Your parents just had them at the store?
Yeah. And I bought 6 or 7 of them. I can't remember. But it was kind of one of those moments. It was right around Mother's Day, and I was like, this is my gift. Yeah. I'm buying these. And, macrophyllus, it was one of those decisions where I just thought this is probably a total waste of money because macrophyllus just don't do well for us traditionally. But I was so thankful. Hang on, my mom's calling me. Hello? Hey, what's up? I can't remember where I was at. Was I talking about macrophylla hydrangeas? I think I was. So the two that we pruned, you could easily see, thankfully, where the new growth was going to happen. And with macrophyllas, like you don't want to go in and prune this time of year because if you can't see any growing activity, you could accidentally cut off the buds for the blooms for this growing season because they bloom on old wood. But it was easy to see where the dead wood was. You could see last year's bloom and follow the dead wood back right to that very first bud. And even if I had a slight question as to if the bud was good or not, there was a couple branches where it was questionable and I could have gone down to a nicer one. I just left that top one up and I just cut it basically like just the little stem right below the bloom and then the bloom itself. So they're a little wonky shaped and I thought, well, I can just go in later and shape them up or cut out any other extra dead that I didn't get that day, but they look so much better being cleaned up that way. So anyway, we did that, and then the pink mink clematis, which we've already talked about earlier on, we got those trimmed off of the trellises, which is perfect. We are on the schedule to have our house painted this spring.
We'll have to take those trellises off.
Yeah, which there's like little brackets that are, hold the trellis up and then also away from our house, like 4 inches, so that vines have a chance to make it around the trellis. It's easy to take them off and put them back on. Lydia said, is there a variety of hellebores that face up? Yeah, there are quite a number of them. Off the top of my head, I know Jacob and Pink Frost, Cinnamon Snow. There's certain series, too, that face up. There's a lot more.
Really face up like super well though.
They do. The ones that I have out that are blooming right now. Anyway, when you're out and about looking at varieties this spring, it'll most likely say on the tag because that's a pretty good feature of some of those new hellebores. So they usually want to highlight that. Oasis Mendez said the limelight hydrangeas by the front windows, you cut them back more, but there were no buds. So how do you know you didn't cut too much and stunt the plant, and or since there weren't any buds already, where will they come from? I cut them back to a node. You could barely see. There were some buds starting to form right there. And I do cut them back hard from time to time if I need to size correct them or if it just doesn't make sense to cut them up higher for the overall shape of the plant. The limelights are way further behind schedule. Well, they're not behind schedule at all. They're just further behind than the Incredibles happen to be. You could really see the evidence of buds coming out. And I find with the limelights, they just are a little bit later to do that. And I don't know, I feel like I've been pruning them for so long, for so many years. I'm pretty confident in where I make my cuts, and I probably should have talked about that more in the video. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Anne said, I'm confused about the smooth hydrangea. You showed buds on stalks that had last year's blooms on them. Isn't that old wood? I thought smooth hydrangea bloomed on new wood, so those buds will form new branches, so new growth off of those buds that will have blooms on the top. Teresa said if arborescens and panicles grow on new wood, wouldn't it be fine to prune them in the fall when the blooms are spent? You absolutely could. The only benefit about waiting until spring is you can see where all the strong growth is, and you can see where dead growth is really easily. In the fall, it can be a little bit harder to tell when the plant is going dormant. In the spring, when you can see that bud activity, so if you waited even longer than I did, you would see a lot more green going on. The buds would look a lot more evident, and you'd be able to tell, like, ooh, this branch doesn't look very good. I don't see any like green buds on it. Let's take that one out. You'd also be able to more easily cut down to a very strong set of buds. So anyway, that's why waiting till spring is sometimes a good idea, but fall pruning on those in a little bit more of a mild climate, I don't think is a bad idea either. Some people do it every single year that way. Tanya said the cats were loving this cleanup day. Question, do you prune your Oh So Easy roses the same way you do other roses? I tend to. You don't have to. They're the type of rose that you can pretty much just prune them if you need to size check them, prune them if you've got a wild arm here or there, but they're the type that you should just be able to kind of leave alone, and they'll continue to grow and bloom and do their thing. I like to, I don't know, it's just part of my process. When I'm going through a flower bed, I like to just clean things up. I like there to be a lot of light and airflow, and I don't want like the super dense, thick rose plant. Vicky said, can you move your hydrangea plant right now? Yes, right now is a great time. If you can work that soil, if you can dig a plant out and get a hole dug somewhere else to move it, it's a great time before they wake up out of their dormancy. Mutton Jeff said, when is the best time to cut back a smoke tree? Really, no time is a great time to cut back a smoke tree. I probably should explain this too, I only cut some wild branches they had come out and they were like laying on the ground, but they were shooting way out further than the main part of the shrub, so I just took those off. The thing with the smoke bush is that they do bloom on old wood. So they're the type, they'll bloom kind of like early summer, and you can go in and prune a little bit after that if you need to. Most of the time though, you want to choose a variety of smoke bush that will just fit the area you've got for it. And that way you don't have to worry about it, and they keep a really nice shape, and then you have your blooms every single year. And so that one I was only sacrificing or taking off branches that didn't make sense to the rest of the plant. And the last video from this week was harvesting lemons and making lemon cocktails in the Hartley with my mom. That was a fun afternoon, let me tell you. Oh my goodness. We started off with a little mini plant tour because Erin, the kids, and I went to Franz Whitty like the night before, and we went out to dinner with my family over there in that general area, and I thought, oh, I bet you they've got some early color. So we stopped in prior to dinner and picked up a few things. So we walked through those beautiful plants, and then my mom got there while we were doing the tour. So she harvested some of the lemons off of our lemon tree, and then we took them into the Hartley, and we made the French 75, which is kind of a champagne gin based cocktail, super fresh and crisp and so good. Then we made one called, what's it called?
The bourbon one?
No, it was a bourbon smash. What was
bourbon
the one?
Smash.
What was the one in between? I texted it to you last night, didn't I? Oh, the Southside cocktail, which was a gin base. It was almost like a gimlet. It was lemon and lime juice, simple syrup, gin, and mint. So the only difference between our regular gimlet that we drink and this one is that it had a little lemon juice in it, and it had mint instead of basil. And then the bourbon smash, oh, that was our favorite. So that one was bourbon and maple syrup and lemon juice, a little bit of club soda, and then with a lemon twist. That was the winner for sure. They were all delicious though. I would be happy if I was served any of those. Kimberly said, awesome way to spend an afternoon. Have you ever grown using hydroponics? Only minimally. We had like a set. Yeah. What was that called?
Opcom.
Opcom?
That was the company.
Was it?
Uh-huh.
Boy, that was like, it feels like an age ago.
That was like 2016, 17.
Yeah, they sent out a system. And I grew some greens, and I can't remember what else I grew. I've never really been into it hugely, so I never really have invested a lot of time into it. Melanie said, what a great afternoon. Your maple syrup looks like a bottle of whiskey. Are you sure that was maple syrup? Well, you'll never know. I don't think I showed the label, did I? I actually bought that maple syrup because I don't usually like the real maple syrup, the organic, like grade A, it's super watery. I don't like the maple syrup. Like for my pancakes and waffles, like I want Mrs. Butterworth's maple syrup, which is like probably not even real maple anything.
Yeah.
But it's like thick and sticky. That's my bag.
Yeah.
In drinks, I don't want that. So I got the good stuff for that. Jennifer Smiles said, could you share that delicious chicken taco salad dinner recipe? Let me tell you where it's from, because it is on my Google Sheet here. It is so good. And then you know what? I make enough extra chicken when I make the chicken for that salad to have chicken wraps the next night. And we use the leftover jalapeno avocado ranch in the wrap as well. So good. So it's called the chicken kale taco salad, but neither of us really like to eat kale, so we do spinach with jalapeno avocado ranch from eatingwell.com. Chris Peterson said, so what was the name of the prettiest hellebore that you had?
Okay.
I put a marker in the video for you to add the text of that.
I didn't see it. You know, you asked me to watch like the second portion of the video, which I did, just to make sure that
I cut out 16 minutes of my mom and I talking. And there was way more than that because Ken had already edited it.
Right.
And it was like a 40-minute video, and he goes, you'll probably want to edit more out, but I didn't know how much you would want to leave of your conversations in there. So I watched it through, and I did put a marker. It's called the Winter Jewels Cherry Blossom. That's the name of that hellebore that I showed, and it was in that container I planted last winter. So pretty. Oh. Anyway.
I should teach you how to put your own text boxes.
I don't want to know how. It's not my job. It's not my lane. KCOT Joe said, how fun for you both. How is your mother's home remodel coming along? Oh, I'd be like done by now.
Yeah.
So done. They are painting this week, and then next Monday they're supposed to start the cabinets in the kitchen. So they are like right at the end of the inside stuff, but then they have to reside and paint the outside.
How long is a remodel supposed to take?
I don't know, but my mom was like, we could have had a whole new house built by now. Like a nice one.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I would have been. We actually talked a little bit about that in the video. We just talked about their landscape out there, and I had asked her if she started to sketch out anything for it, and she hasn't yet. And thought, well, do you want me to start sketching out? Because we're getting close. We need to start making some plans. Kathy said, what do you do with your 5-year-old lemon tree that's never produced but looks healthy? Never produced? Has it bloomed? If it's bloomed, then you might need to help it out with the pollination. You might need to take a little brush and, move the pollen around a little bit. I've done that before. If it has never bloomed, I don't know. I don't know enough about citrus to say, like, if I had a citrus tree for 5 years that had never produced, I would not have it anymore.
You know what? It might just be a lemon.
Oh, were you waiting for your opportunity to use that?
Yeah.
Good one, Erin. You know it's getting sad when you're doing the dad jokes and I'm like holding on to my pain cream over here. Deb said, you two cracked me up. Laura, what lemon tree did you grow? Meyer or, I think it is a Meyer. Somebody said it was a Meyer.
Yeah, I think it's a Meyer.
That remembered from when I planted it.
I think I looked up in a video when you originally
So that littler one that has the most lemons. It had like almost 30 lemons this year. Still has some. In fact, for Super Bowl, everybody's coming to our house, and so I'm going to make the bourbon smash, and I'm going to use those up. But the tree one, I know I have a pink lemonade, which is the variegated leaves, and it's got kind of almost a variegated lemon rind, and then a pink flesh. That one didn't produce any. It produced blooms, but then it lost all its fruit when that side was taken out of the greenhouse side was left up, and it got too cold. And then the other tree I thought was a lime, and turns out it's a lemon, but I don't know what variety that one is. It's different than the Meyer, I think. Debbie said, I love the juicer you're using. Where can I find that? Williams-Sonoma. And they've got the lime one that's green like mine. They've also got one that I think they just call the citrus juicer, which is a little bit bigger. And I don't think I necessarily would have needed that bigger one, but there is an occasion because I use the lime one that I have for both lemons and limes. Sometimes those lemons are like big, and they're a little bit too big for that. And if you're wanting to do oranges and things like that, you would want the citrus one. But it's the same kind of concept. It's got the little detachable measuring cup down below. It's so awesome. There are some things like that are just. Now I need to find a garlic mincer that I actually like. I spent a lot of money at Williams-Sonoma on one that was like one of their nice brands, like really heavy duty. It is total junk. Huh. Yeah, I don't like it at all. I need to find something good for that. GBR said, and this is the last question, would it taste good with sparkling cider non-alcoholic? I don't drink alcoholic beverages. However, you two are both funny and fun. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of experimenting with that, but it would be worth doing a mocktail version.
Yeah.
Like maybe we could do a mocktail video and find some really yummy recipes to try out. Because, That would be nice.
Yeah.
And then you could drink as many of them as you wanted. I mean, we were just being super careful because my mom drove home later on. She came in and, you know, played with the kids and stuff like that afterward. But you do want to be careful with
Sure.
that sort of thing, of course. But anyway, that is it for this week. Anything else we need to talk about? Go out and enjoy the sunshine.
Yeah.
Right now. That is what I'm going to do. Maybe we'll put our roller skates back on. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great week, and we will see you in the next one.